Hey guys, how you doing? This is the Gary Green Show. So, maybe something not quite as inflammatory today. I'm going to take a break. What I want to talk about today is Hillary Clinton. Now, what got me started on this entire idea of, talking about Hillary Clinton is she made a speech yesterday in which time she urged gun owners to abandon the NRA and start their own group. She wanted us to get away from the extremist NRA and start our own group that was more common sense. I have a couple problems with this before we even get into Hillary Clinton stuff. One, the NRA is our group. It's been our group since 1776. It's our group. Number two, how on earth is the NRA extremist? Quite literally, they simply want to make sure, and I'm talking about the political organization, right, that anybody who's a member is a part of. They simply want to make sure that the government stops playing games with our rights, that they stop infringing on our rights, that they stop constantly trying to overregulate everything. Now, keep in mind, this isn't a far stretch. This has been going on for a long time. The government has been overregulating practically everything for decades. Wait, decades? Wait, centuries. That's right. The government overregulates absolutely everything. Whether it's energy, whether it's pollution, whether it's jobs, whether it's licensing, everything has to have a regulation according to the government. Now, the problem is, more often than not, those regulations that they have seen fit to put into place to fix a problem have caused more problems than they've ever fixed. Job growth has slowed to a crawl because of overregulation. And now you want to do the same thing to firearms. And there's a reason why we are so insistent on not allowing the federal government to regulate our firearms any further than they already do. They already regulate them far too far. They already have so many gun laws on the books that limit what you can purchase, when you can purchase it, how you can purchase it, who you can purchase it from. These are products, right? Let's take the fact that they're guns out of the equation, which is what I always like to do when I talk about this stuff. We're not talking about weapons of death or whatever. What we're talking about is a product. The product is legal, right? Now, you have to get a background check to purchase the product. Okay. States regulate the purchase of the product. Okay. Because once again, there's 50 states, there's 50 different ways things could be done. If you don't like the way things are done in your particular state, you can either try to change it, or you can move to a different state that fits more with your belief system. That's fine. The problem I have is when the federal government tries to come in and change and override the states. Now, this isn't the first time it's happened. It's not the first time it's been discussed. But what I find telling and very interesting is that Hillary Clinton, of all people, is trying to tell gun owners what they should do. And in this case, they should abandon the NRA, our one safeguard protecting the Second Amendment. Now, you may not agree with everything the NRA does. You may think it's a political sham or whatever. But here's some things you need to know about the NRA. Number one, they're nonpartisan. As much as people want to say, oh, the NRA is a Republican entity and so on and so forth, in reality, not so much. The NRA is nonpartisan. When they put out their gun-friendly list for the elections every year, there's still Democrats on that list. They literally judge who is the most gun friendly by the way they vote. It's nonpartisan. They're not concerned with D or R on their name. What they're concerned with is, do they show a proven track record of standing by Second Amendment rights and upholding American principles? That's what they're concerned with. And on that front, quite often I disagree with the people that they put forward as, 4 stars. For example, in the 2012 elections, they had boosted up Mitch McConnell. Not hugely Second Amendment friendly, but he's not anti-Second Amendment. So I would have given him like 2 stars. I don't like Mitch McConnell at all. Don't get me wrong. But as far as dealing with the Second Amendment, he kind of floats in the middle. Now, Ted Cruz was brand new. Ted Cruz is the kind of guy who understands that you can't change one right without violating it entirely. Right? We've seen this. This is what is so funny about the way the Second Amendment's been handled in our generation, is that we've seen this happen. We've seen, just since I was born in 79, we have seen the Second Amendment played with, toyed with, stripped down, raped, and then slowly and softly given back to us. And now you wonder why people are so insistent, just insistent, on not letting little teeny tiny changes happen. The truth is, they're not little teeny tiny changes. They are getting your foot in the door. That's what they are. So this idea that there's all these straw purchases going on, and that there's a million loopholes and all these other things that Hillary Clinton wants to fix. We're going to patch up those loopholes. You know what the biggest loophole is in gun purchases? Car trunks. That's the biggest loophole you got. Criminals, when we're talking about real, honest to God criminals, right? Murderers, robbers, rapists, terrorists, gang members. Do you seriously, and I'm asking, I'm not trying to be rude here, do you seriously believe that those people, the people that commit the vast majority of gun-related crimes, are getting their guns from a legal source through a straw purchase? I mean, seriously. Now, if you want, you can pause the video and go look at stats. But stats don't really tell the whole story. They just kind of give you a glimpse. So let me try to help out a little bit here. What is the easiest way to get caught committing a crime with a firearm? Having a firearm that has been traced and sold in a legal fashion to where there is a record of the sale of that firearm, right? It doesn't have to be in a state where you actually register firearms, because the purchase shows who owned it, right? And if I go to sell that gun to somebody else, I'm also going to fill out a purchase order, right? Showing a record of who has owned that, or who has been in possession of that weapon. Now, like here in Missouri, I can loan my gun to somebody. If they want to go to the range or whatever, I can say, here, have my Glock, or here, have my AR, and then go to the range and they can use it and they give it back. But even with family members, I always have them sign something saying they're in possession of my weapon, just in case something happens. Maybe they have to defend themselves and they use my weapon to do it. Granted, I don't think there would be a lot of trouble, but I always want to make sure my P's and Q's are all set. But that's because I'm a responsible NRA member. I've learned a lot from the NRA. I grew up my adult years in Connecticut, where guns are, even when I was growing up in the mid to late 90s, guns were frowned upon in Connecticut. It wasn't a normal thing to know somebody who concealed carried. It wasn't normal. Now you come here to Missouri, where I live now, and Just about everybody carries. It's a perfectly normal thing. It's not strange at all to go out in public and see somebody open carrying. It's pretty normal. But in Connecticut, it was very strange, right? And so when I became a first responder and I really started having to deal with a lot of situations that made me uncomfortable, I had to start thinking down that road. But I really didn't understand any of it. I knew I wasn't scared, technically, of guns. I mean, I grew up in the military. So it's not like I'd never seen a gun before. And I was born in the South. So I've been around guns my whole life. But I didn't truly understand how the whole system worked until I joined the NRA. And I joined the NRA when I had no guns. I just joined. Because one, I wanted to support gun rights. Any kind of rights that are promised in the Constitution, I want to support. Whether I choose to carry a gun or not, I think it's very important that people have the right to do it. And it was a good 2-3 years before I even purchased a firearm, because I wanted to understand not only firearms in general, but I wanted to understand how this system works. How does the Second Amendment work? Who does it protect? And so I joined the NRA. And I even informed the people when I had joined. You know, I talked to people where I had joined. And I had informed them, I don't know a whole lot about guns and so on and so forth. I don't even own a gun. I don't plan on owning a gun here in the near future. But I understand the need for what you're doing. And they had said something really interesting to me. They said, what you're trying to say is you support the rights of Americans to defend themselves. And I said, well, of course. Who thinks you shouldn't defend yourself? And that's when I started getting into this dark side that Hillary Clinton's been on forever. She is not new to this dark side. This is her bread and butter. This was her husband's bread and butter. Her husband's even more conservative than she is when it comes to guns. He was the one that issued the assault weapons ban in '94. So what are we looking at? Seriously. What does she want to do? Well, if she became president, which is not going to happen, unless people are seriously that stupid. If she became president, she would want to issue a whole bunch of executive orders, essentially cutting the nuts off of the Second Amendment, little bit by little bit, because she couldn't go with a big one like a freaking weapons ban. She couldn't do it. It would get overturned. But little teeny tiny things. She could make it incredibly hard to be a gun owner in the United States. And what's the first step to that? Well, she has to, before she can cut our nuts off, she has to cut off the NRA's nuts, because the NRA has the power to stop her. As you've seen in the past 8 years, as Obama's been trying to completely eradicate our gun rights, the NRA has been integral in stopping his movements. So what is Hillary Clinton going to do that's any different? Nothing. Nothing. She's going to keep doing exactly what he's been doing for the past 8 years. She wants the same outcome that he wants. If he had it his way, we would be exactly like all the other European countries that have put ridiculous restrictions on the ownership, the private ownership of firearms, or completely ban them altogether. That's what they want. And they're not the only ones. Bernie Sanders is another one that has no problem banning firearms, while increasing the debt tenfold. When this election cycle comes up, there's going to be a lot of things to discuss. Guns are going to be a big portion of it because of how many assaults on our Second Amendment rights we've had in the past decade. The problem is, I think people are going to get stuck in the weeds, and I don't want to see that happen again. That happened in 2012. We got stuck in the weeds. Obama got reelected. And now keep in mind, it wasn't by that much. But the problem was, we got stuck in the weeds. We stopped paying attention to what was truly important and started focusing on little, teeny, tiny issues. Now, did I really want Mitt Romney as my president? I wasn't a huge fan of Mitt Romney. But you know who I'm less of a fan of? Barack Obama. You know who I'm less of a fan of than Barack Obama? Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Because they take what he's already been doing to the next level. One serious problem with the idea of Hillary Clinton becoming president and then trying to tell us how to defend ourselves and what rights we have to defend ourselves is, think about this. It was under her watch that Benghazi happened. She has completely and utterly denied it. The email fiasco that happened. And then her entire past before she got, quote unquote, into politics, where she got kicked off of some pretty big cases because of unethical behavior. This is the person you want to have as a president? And this is the person you want to listen to that tells you that the NRA is a bunch of bad guys and we need to get rid of them and start our own common sense gun group for responsible gun owners? I know I keep doing the quotes thing. It's annoying. But do you understand what I'm saying? There's no point in even trying to argue with somebody that is a Clinton supporter. A real, honest to God, Clinton supporter. Because we also got tied up in the weeds on that in 2012. There were people then, there are people now, much fewer, that supported Obama because he was Obama. Not because they agreed with his policies or thought he was doing a good job. It was because he was Obama. It was Obama the picture. Obama the personality. It had nothing to do with Obama the president. Obama the senator. Had nothing to do with it. They literally supported him because they were afraid not to. The idea of not supporting the first black president was terrifying to them. Now we have a whole new rap coming up. Now we either have the first liberal woman president or the first ancient socialist president. You're going to have people that are going to be dead set devoted to both of those people for two completely different reasons. Hillary Clinton has a lot of political experience. None of it's any good. And she's done nothing to further the American progress. Bernie Sanders, he's got a ton of political experience too. On 6 different continents, under 6 different governments. No, but seriously, the dude's ancient. But that's not the scary part. The dude's a socialist, like a legit socialist. He wants to steal from people to give to other people. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Because he knows that Obama supporters like free stuff. And so he goes, well, if I rob those evil rich guys and I give it to the Obama supporters, they'll become Sanders supporters. And you already see it happening. It's already happening. People are already going, yeah, Bernie Sanders, and they're putting stickers on their car because they want free crap. This is what we're going to have to deal with in 2016. Whoever our Republican nominee is going to have to be really strong and really steadfast in all the things they believe. They don't have to be the most popular. But what we need is somebody that really, honestly, truly has conviction about their stances and that they believe wholeheartedly what they're saying. Now, do I think Trump is that guy? Not so much. I think he likes to ruffle feathers. I like to ruffle feathers also. I'm cool with that. But the problem is he has been wishy-washy since day one. And then he promotes what he thinks gun owners are going to jump all over, and a lot have. But they need to think. He wants all states concealed carry, right? Like essentially a federally issued concealed carry permit. Now that's cute. That's great. There's one problem. A federally issued concealed carry permit is going to do something that we do not want. We have been rallying against since day one. It's something that we have taken such a strong stance against that we've alienated our own people. And it's pretty simple. If we got a 50-state federal concealed carry permit, we're going to have to register for that 50-state federal concealed carry permit. And what's going to happen then? That federal 50-state concealed carry permit is going to provide a registry for everybody who has a concealed carry permit in the United States. Another problem that it has is that with that concealed carry permit, they can tag on all sorts of little items that'll be incredibly fun for anybody who's anti-Second Amendment, such as you now have to register your weapons because everything's federalized. Now, a lot of states, in fact, most states, you don't have to register your guns. Here in Missouri, as you can see, I don't have to register all my things. They're all legitimate. I bought them at stores, went through background checks, but they're mine. I don't have to tell somebody else I have them. If we get a federal concealed carry permit, there's a good chance that they'll try to make federal gun registration. And people go, oh, but we'll get a federal concealed carry permit and we can go anywhere and carry our guns. Number one, if you think that's actually how it's going to work, you need to do a little bit of research. Because cities, municipalities will still be able to ban your guns or regulate your guns, as they should be able to. But you're not shortchanging the system by getting a federal license. All you're doing is giving them far more information than they need. So if you want to get behind Donald Trump with this crap because you think he's pro-Second Amendment, he's been back and forth over the past 20 years. Actually, he's been back and forth on everything over the past 20 years. So, you may want to think twice about that. The people that are going to stand for Second Amendment rights, and First Amendment rights for that matter, or any other amendment rights, are the people you need to focus on, that you need to be dumping your support for. The people that are actually defending the Constitution, that actually believe it's a thing, instead of the people that are constantly trying to undermine it and find a way to sidestep it. We've already had enough of them. Enough. My God. You can't protest. I know I talked about this yesterday. You can't protest in a lot of places without a license to protest. And then you're given a specific place you're allowed to protest, and a certain period of time you're allowed to protest, and a list of things you're allowed to and not allowed to do during that protest. Boy, that sounds a lot like a First Amendment issue. Decide what you want. Do you want a country that honors all of your rights? Or do you want a country that's going to pick them apart piece by piece? I made my decision a long time ago. That's why I became a life member with the NRA. Because I believe that those principles are more important than just about anything else. Because all the things we're going to have to deal with in the future and have to deal with now come down to our personal safety. Now, I'm not talking about, rebellion or anything else. That's not what I'm concerned with. What I'm concerned with is my ability to protect myself and my family. And if anybody's going to try to take that away from me, they don't need to be in power. So Hillary Clinton, completely off. And people need to start standing up and saying that. And when you have your friends that are Hillary Clinton supporters or Bernie Sanders supporters or whatever, you need to make it abundantly clear at what we stand to lose if they ever became president, if they ever got into power. The things that they would do to overstep and sidestep the Constitution. It would be more of the same, only worse. The one benefit we have is that Obama in general is pretty lazy. Now you get a Hillary Clinton in there. She's going to take advantage of every single ounce of power she has and then find more. And we've already got an activist judiciary branch. If we're lucky, we can keep the House and the Senate. But us having one branch of government is not really going to help. We've already had tons of stuff get sidestepped, overruled, and violated by a president that's generally pretty lazy. So what's going to happen when a president's not lazy and has the same agenda? You tell me. I'm a lifetime NRA member. You can start 1,000 gun groups and have tons of members, and I won't join them because there's one group that will always fight for my rights. I may not agree with every single thing they stand for, but I agree with the things that are the most important, which is that our Second Amendment rights need to stop being violated. There is no common sense gun regulation. There's none. We've already got thousands upon thousands of laws on the books about guns, and it's done nothing to fix gun crime. Because criminals break the law. Doesn't matter how many laws you make, you're just turning more innocents into criminals. So any of these common sense measures can kiss my ass. Guys, thanks for watching. Have an awesome day. This is Gary Green. I'll check you later.